Just a minute. So I'm back again. It got a bit disconnected. No, look here. So there is a gene which is being transformed. The gene is referred to as the CAPS gene. CAPS gene refers to capsule synthesizing gene. Just so this CAPS gene is transferred. This CAPS gene is being transferred from the dead S strain into the R strain. When this CAPS gene was being transferred, then it was responsible for the transformation of the R strain into S strain. देखो कैप्सूल को बनाने वाला एक जीन होता है जिसका नाम है कैपेस जीन. कैपेस जीन वो जीन है जो एक्चुअली में कैप्सूल को तो नहीं बनाता लेकिन उसके एंजाइम्स को बनाता है जो आगे चल के कैप्सूल्स को बनाते हैं. क्योंकि देखो कोई भी मॉलिक्यूल जो है जो कि आपके जेनेटिक मटेरियल को कॉन्स्टिट्यूट कर रहा है, वो जेनेटिक मटेरियल को जो भी मॉलिक्यूल कॉन्स्टिट्यूट कर रहा है वो क्या बनाएगा, वो प्रोटीन्स को बनाएगा. नाउ दिस कैपेस जीन विल बी एबल टू बायोसिंथेसाइज द प्रोटीन molecule. As it will be able to biosynthesize the protein molecules, those protein molecules will be responsible for the biosynthesis of the capsule, the associated capsule. And once the biosynthesis of these associated capsule take place, they are responsible for the toxicity which is being associated with this Diplococcus pneumoniae or Streptococcus pneumoniae. Okay, so that toxicity is being caused because of this particular gene, capsule synthesizing gene, which is transferred, which is transferred from dead S strain to R strain. I'm organizing it out. Just wait for a second. Just wait for a second. I'm organizing this out. Okay, now you can see. So they are being transferred from the death S strain to the R strain. And see, these genes also encode only the enzyme. These genes encode the enzyme for the biosynthesis of capsule that is responsible for the toxicity. These genes, this gene, because this is a particular gene, this gene encodes enzyme responsible for the biosynthesis of the synthesis of capsule. Okay, so this capsule is being biosynthesized only because of the presence of this particular gene, and that is why it is responsible for the toxicity, the acute toxicity which is being associated with the conversion of R strain into S strain and causing the death of the organism to take place. Okay, so this is how death is being caused. And this the autopsy of the mice clearly indicated that S strain has been transferred, that indicated that live strains are present. That means DNA from the S strain containing CAPS gene has been transferred from the heat killed S strain into the live R strain, transforming R strain into S strain. So ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन का बेसिस क्या था, वो जेनेटिक मटेरियल जो ट्रांसफर हुआ किससे, डेड एस स्ट्रेन से किसके अंदर, लाइव आर स्ट्रेन के अंदर, जिसकी वजह से ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हो गया, जिसकी वजह से मॉडिफिकेशन हो गए. दिस इज हाउ द ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन अकर्ड. Yes, Nidhi, you are absolutely correct. But the most important thing is that which is the gene, because the name of the gene has been asked, and it is clearly given in gene 9 and gene 8 series. Okay, now because now it was known that there is something that is referred to as transforming principle. Griffith was not able to understand what is the basis of this transforming principle, whether it is DNA, protein, and more importantly, majority of the scientists thought that enzymes or proteins are the genetic material firstly. Then later on there were three different scientists. Yes, that is why I've written the name that is referred to as CAPS gene that I have told you just now. So this name has been asked in the CSR entrance examination. I would be audible to you all, and the screen would also be visible to you all. So in this screen you can find that there is a gene that is referred to as the CAPS gene. Okay, now look forward. It was Griffith. Now, after this transforming principle became known, there were three lady scientists who performed different experiments. One was referred to as Avery, another one was MacLeod, and then third was McCarthy. The three lady scientists who performed the most important experiment proving that the genetic material is DNA in nature. Those three lady were Avery, McCarthy, and MacLeod. Now they told that if that DNA is the genetic material, let us find it out that whether the DNA could exhibit as a genetic material or not. And if the DNA could exhibit as a genetic material, or what is the genetic material, then they used different types of enzymes in order to effectively cleave a particular molecule. For example, type second RNA cells were being taken, and there was no transformation, okay, because there is no S strain. But type third S strain was being taken, DNA extract was being taken, there was transformation. Now they began to question that what is the transformation principle, what is the transformation principle that has been highlighted here. So what is this transformation principle that is present? So they came with an idea to perform a simple array of experiments. What was the experiment that they did? They took the type R second cells along with type as third DNA extract, but they added three different types of enzyme. One was DNase, another one was RNase, and the third one was protease. Protease will cleave any protein that would be moving from the dead S strain to the alive R strain. So no protein transformation can take place. So proteins will not be able to get transferred from one to another, one cell to the other. Supposingly there is a protein, and this protein is moving into the R strain. But protease, this particular enzyme is going to cleave this particular protein. Okay, this particular enzyme will cleave this particular protein. Now see, in the case of RNAs, RNAs will cleave, which molecule will be cleaved by RNAs? RNAs will be cleaving RNA molecule. So the RNA molecules will be cleaved by RNAs enzyme. Okay, so this is RNA. The RNA molecule will be cleaved. All the different RNAs present in the cell would be effectively cleaved by the RNase molecule. Okay, so this RNAs will be cleaving this particular RNA molecule. Okay, now DNAs, what would be cleaved by the DNA molecule? The double stranded DNA molecule will be cleaved by the DNAs. So DNAs will be cleaving the double stranded DNA molecule. Shreya, please mute yourself. Okay, so this is the double stranded DNA molecule which is present, and this would be effectively cleaved with the help of the enzyme that is referred to as DNase. This is not a person standing, this is actually DNA which has been cleaved. Okay, so there would be no transformation in this particular experiment. Okay, so we will find that there is no transformation in this particular experiment. I'm just highlighting this stuff so that you can effectively visualize it out. So in this particular case, you can find that there would be no effective transformation taking place in this case. Why? Because the DNA has been effectively cleaved. As the DNA has been cleaved, so there would be no further transformation that is going to take place. This is how it was been proven that DNA is the genetic material. Now the question is being asked, simple question. Who firstly proved that DNA is the genetic material? No, my dear, it is not Griffith. It is always every McCarty and MacLeod who firstly proved that DNA is the genetic material. Griffith just hypothesized that there is a transforming principle, and there could be DNA or protein or any other molecule could be the transformation principle, could be the genetic material. But it was only every McCarty and MacLeod who predicted that DNA is the most effective transformation principle. So now moving forward. So dear students, is the screen and voice is audible and screen is visible to you all? If it is visible to you all, just tell me, anyone. Okay, Hershey and Chase experiment. Now there was another experiment which was being performed. Okay, thank you. Now there was another experiment which was being performed, and this experiment was being performed by two scientists. One was referred to as Hershey and another one was referred to as Chase. Now, how this Hershey and Chase experiment was being performed? Now, in the case of Hershey and Chase experiment, now they wanted a much more better proof in order to prove that this DNA could serve as a genetic material. Okay, so what they did was that in Hershey and Chase experiment, they took two different materials. They took an E. coli as well as they took T2 phage. Okay, they took T2 phage. A specialized phage was being taken by them, and that one was referred to as T2 phage, which was being radio labeled by P32. It was being radio labeled by P32. Okay. Now this has been radio labeled with P32, infected bacteria. Okay, so they took T2 phage really labeled with certain bacterial strains, and with radioactive P32 labeled DNA infected bacteria. Now see this. This is a phage, in which there are two different things. One is the capsid or the protein code, and this is the nucleic acid. The nucleic acid of the phage has been radiolabeled with P32 with another phosphorus, because you know that DNA contain phosphorus. As DNA contain phosphorus within itself, so it has been radiolabeled here. Okay, and the other thing, the proteins contain very large amount of sulfur, so proteins are also radiolabeled here. Now what is being done in this experiment? In this experiment, again, questions, where from the questions are being asked in this experiment, that has to be known to you all. Now in this experiment, what is being done here, the nucleic acid has been taken, and when this T2 phage was being incubated with E. coli bacteria, the phage was able to insert in the two experiments. This is experiment number one, this is experiment number two. In the first case, when the phosphorus has been made radiolabeled, then the genetic material will enter into the E. coli, and when the genetic material will enter into the E. coli, it will make the bacteria radioactive, and very low radioactivity is found in the supernatant. Why very low radioactivity is being found in the supernatant? First question. Second question, if sulfur 35 is being taken, then the radioactivity, very high radioactivity is being found in the supernatant, and very low radioactivity will be present in the palate. Bacteria will always form the palate, and this phage will always form the supernatant. So I'm just writing it out. See, bacterial cells forms the palate. Okay, bacterial cells forms the palate, whereas what is going to happen, the okay, sorry, bacterial cells will form the palate, while phage will form the supernatant. Okay, in every case, while phage will form the supernatant. Now see, as phage will form the supernatant in the first case. Now see this, there was radioactivity which was being associated, and see, you can find that there is a P32 radioactivity phosphorus DNA which is present here, and it is containing this radioactivity because it was not able to bind to the E. coli. Why in certain cases the phage is not able to bind to E. coli? Can anybody explain? And to which receptor this phage bind? The receptor to which the phage bind is referred to as TON-B receptor. So the receptor present here on the E. coli is called as the TON-B receptor. Very important point. Now this should be highlighted, and it is, I'm going to highlight it out so that you can understand this out. Now see this, the receptor, I'm just marking it with a tick. Okay, now this receptor is referred to as the TON-B receptor. Okay, I'm just writing it out. The TON-B receptor, the E. coli has a TON-B receptor to which phage binds. Okay, so this is the TON-B receptor to which the phage is going to bind. So if there is a TON-B receptor, then the phage is going to bind, and phage will insert its DNA. If there is an E. coli which lacks a TON-B receptor, or if the E. coli TON-B receptor is mutated, then only we get very low radioactivity in the supernatant. Before performing, the only disadvantage of Hershey and Chase experiment is that in Hershey and Chase experiment, if the E. coli which is taken is mutated and is having a mutated version of the TON-B receptor, then such type of E. coli will not be able to, we will not be able to perform the Hershey and Chase experiment with an TON-B receptor mutated E. coli. Okay, so if there is an E. coli which has a TON-B receptor which is mutated, then again the stability will not be produced, and the P32 will not be able to integrate its DNA into the bacterial cell. Okay, so very important point. So I'm just writing you, I'm just informing you to write a note about it. So see, this is what I'm telling you. the efficiency or success of the Hershey and Chase experiment. Hershey and Chase experiment depends upon if the E. coli has an functional ton ton B receptor or not. If it has a functional ton B receptor, then only the experiment is going to be efficient and effective, else it is not going to be effective in nature. Because if there would be a non-functional ton B receptor, then the radioactive DNA will never be able to enter into the E. coli. There are certain questions. Okay, it has been told. That's all. So such type of questions are being asked, that what is the greatest disadvantage of Hershey and Chase experiment. One has to check whether the E. coli has a ton B receptor mutant or not. This question was being asked in CSI. Okay, so hope that you will remember this out. Okay, now moving forward, that is why we were getting low radioactivity. Now, clearly this experiment proved that as only the phosphorus was able to enter into the bacteria and was able to transform the bacterial cells, so the transformation is taking place because of the presence of radioactivity present within the DNA, which was being marked by radioactive phosphorus. If there is a radioactive sulfur, then the transformation is not going to take place. So for this only, the Hershey and Chase got the Nobel Prize for the discovery in physiology of medicine. Now, structure and types of RNA. Now, we will be talking about the different types of structures and types of RNA. Now, DNA contain all the information needed to maintain a cell processes, but these precise blueprints are being protected within the nucleus. Now, there is an organization of DNA within the cell. That is very important. Now, you just look at the organization of the DNA in the cell that I would be talking to you. Now, see, supposingly I'm drawing a cell here. I'm making a cell here. Now, let this be a cell. Okay, sorry. Let this be a cell. I'm just trying to extrapolate it out if I can. If this is a cell, then within the cell you can find that the genetic material which is present in the cell remains confined to a localized area, and that is referred to as the nucleus. Supposingly there is a larger cell that I have drawn, and supposingly this is the nucleus of a particular cell, then the genetic material always remains intact within the nucleus. The genetic material of a cell always remains intact within the nucleus. I'm trying to move it away. Just a second. Now it would be better. Okay. Now see, this is the genetic material. Where would be the genetic material of the cell? The genetic material of the cell will be present within the nucleus. Now, if this genetic material has to inform the cytoplasm that what function has to be done, then this genetic material has a messenger, and that messenger is commonly referred to as the mRNA. Okay, the messenger that will be transferring the information, it will be referred to as the mRNA molecule. So supposingly I'm trying to draw the DNA molecule here. I'm trying to draw this DNA. Okay, trying to draw this DNA. Okay, let this be the genetic material, the DNA which is present in a cell. Now we are going to move this DNA. Okay, this would be moving in fractions. Now this is the genetic material that is present. Okay, so this is the genetic material which is present in the cell, and this genetic material is remain packed within a particular nucleus. Then how the interaction is going to take place? The interaction is going to take place with the help of another molecule, and that molecule will be referred to as the mRNA molecule, and that molecule will transfer the genetic information from the nucleus into the cytosol. That is what is written here. Now they see, so the most important function is being performed by the mRNA molecules, and this is the mRNA molecule that is non-catalytic and is coding in nature. Or there could be other different types of RNA molecules, and those RNA molecules include the tRNA as well as the rRNA molecules that are present. Now, when we talk about the thermal stability of the DNA and the RNA molecules, then you can look at how the DNA and RNA molecules are being stable. See, RNA has gotten less stability as compared to the DNA molecule. RNA double helix adopted the A form of the structure of DNA. This question has been asked. I'm just pointing out at the most important points so that we can move forward quickly. Okay, so the RNA molecule which is present, it has a double stranded structure. Okay, and they are quite short. RNA double helix always adopt a conformation that is referred to as A structure, which is different from the B structure adopted by the DNA. RNA secondary structures are more stable than its tertiary structure. This is very important. Now see, in the case of tRNA, the question has been asked, which of the structure of the tRNA is much more stable? The cloverleaf model of tRNA is much more stable, or the inverted L-shaped structure of tRNA is more stable? You can always answer that question that the cloverleaf model structure of the tRNA is much more stable as compared to the inverted L-shaped looped structure. So that I'm going to insert it here. Just a second. The question which was being asked in CSIR. See, note the clover leaf structure of tRNA is more stable than the inverted L-shaped structure. Okay, so this is said to be much more stable as compared to the inverted L-shaped structure. So hope you will remember this out. Now moving forward, now the different types of RNAs which are present in the cell. There are several different types of RNAs which are present in the cell. We could talk about the different types of RNAs, but the first and the foremost, the most important RNAs which are present are the tRNA, rRNAs, and the mRNA. Then we would be talking about the other different types of RNAs which are being associated. One is referred to as here snRNA. Another one is referred to as the snORNA. The third, small nucleolar RNA, snRNA. snRNA was involved in transcription, involved in processing, mRNA processing. snORNA involved in the processing of tRNA. MicroRNA were involved in the process of post-transcriptional modification, that is referred to as RNA interference. Then there is ZIST. ZIST was involved in the formation of bar body. scRNA, similarly scRNA, siRNA, which is also involved in RNA interference. tmRNA, the RNA which could occur as both a tRNA as well as mRNA, was referred to as tmRNA, and the last one was referred to as the telomerase RNA. What is canonical B form? See, canonical B form means the structure of the bDNA. Okay, so look here what was being given. There was a question query from one of our students. Now see, RNA adopt helical form of structure just like to the A form of the DNA. You know that the A form of the DNA was different from the B form of the DNA, as I have told you. In the A form of the DNA, what was being found was that it was much more broader as compared to the B form of the DNA. So RNA forms a structure which resembles much more to the A form of the DNA, whereas the actual structure of the DNAs are quite different, because the most stable structure of the DNA is the bDNA. Okay. Now moving forward, types of RNA. So we would be starting with the first RNA, that is referred to as the tRNA molecule. That what is this tRNA molecule and how this tRNA molecule is being oriented. So just let me start the PowerPoint presentation so that we can look at it. Okay. Just a second. Just a second. Just sharing the screen with you all. Just sharing the screen with you all. Okay, now it would be visible to you all that you are visualizing the same animation that we were talking about. Now moving forward in this animation, what we are going to look forward, see, canonical structures means only the three-dimensional structures which are present. So RNA resembles much more towards the A form of the DNA, whereas DNA is predominantly always present in the B form. Now moving forward, we are talking about the different types of RNA molecules which are being associated. Now, before that, we have already seen what is the prokaryotic DNA, how this prokaryotic DNA is being oriented. what is eukaryotic DNA and how eukaryotic DNA is being oriented in the cell. So see, we are just going through these slides. So in the case of prokaryotes, the DNA which is present is said to be the CCC DNA. There is, that is called as triple C DNA. Triple C DNA refers to circular covalently closed DNA molecule. Different regions have different degree of supercoiling structure. About 200 nucleotides have a supercoiling on an average. So approximately 200 nucleotides are there and they have a supercoiling on an average present within themselves. Okay. Now, moving forward, what we are going to get is that we'll be talking about the eukaryotic DNA. After the prokaryotic DNA, we are moving towards the eukaryotic DNA. In the case of eukaryotic DNA, DNA is, in the case of eukaryotes, is highly packed. DNA appears in the form of organized structure, which is referred to as chromosomes during the metaphase, whereas they show a relatively loose form of chromatin in the other phases. The basic unit of chromatin is referred to as the nucleosome, and nucleosome are consisted of two different structures. One is referred to as the DNA, another one is referred to as the histone protein. So it is the nucleosome that will constitute the structure of the chromosomes. We will be looking at the animation that how these nucleosomes are being produced, okay, in our next topic. Now, function of DNA. DNA both serve as the genetic material. It carries the information for the formation of different types of enzymes. Now, DNA has the ability to replicate. It can synthesize RNA. It can synthesize proteins. It has the ability to inherit, and also remember, any genetic material is said to be effective only when it has an ability to mutate. So see, DNA also possess a very special ability to mutate itself. As the DNA can mutate itself, so that is why it is the most effective genetic material which is present. RNA was having a very high rate of mutation, but that is not so good because there are two parameters. One is mutation and another one is genetic inheritance. So if there is a high rate of mutation, there is low rate of genetic inheritance. RNA has a very high rate of mutation but has a very low rate of genetic inheritance. That is why it is not a very good genetic material as compared to DNA. देखिए हिंदी में भी समझ लेते हैं। आरएनए के अंदर म्यूटेशन का रेट तो बहुत ज्यादा है, लेकिन वो जेनेटिक इंफॉर्मेशन को ट्रांसफर नहीं कर पाता एक जनरेशन से दूसरी जनरेशन पे, जबकि डीएनए के अंदर रेट ऑफ म्यूटेशन है जो काफी कम है और ये इफेक्टिवली क्या कर सकता है, डीएनए को ट्रांसफर भी कर सकता है एक जगह से दूसरी जगह पे, एक जनरेशन से दूसरी जनरेशन में. So what is being done, that is why DNA is one of the most one of the greatest one of the finest genetic material as compared to RNA. Okay, we will share the PDF after lectures. See, PDF of Pathfinder groups, Pathfinder books have already been shared, as well as this animation, this PowerPoint presentation has also been shared. I will share the new PDF also with you all. No problem. Okay. Now, classification of RNA. Now, RNA can be effectively classified, as you know, that I was telling you with Pathfinder, there are several different types of RNA molecules. So, mRNA, one which is going to synthesize, going to transfer the information from the nucleus into the cytosol and serve as a template for the biosynthesis of new protein molecule is referred to as mRNA. Another one is referred to as tRNA. tRNA is the one that is going to carry the amino acid molecules. rRNA, a component of ribosome for protein synthesis. hnRNA, which is also referred to as heterogeneous RNA, because it contains both introns as well as exons present within itself. That is why it is referred to as heterogeneous RNA. And the last one, which is referred to as small nucleic RNA, that is small RNA for processing and transportation in the case of hnRNA. Okay, so all these are being effectively used. Now what we have to do is messenger RNA. Okay, this is done. Then we will be talking about every different type of RNA that is being associated. Okay, see, if your connections are unstable, please log out, then log in, and you will get the get my teachings. Okay, see, you have to have a broadband or a good connection so that you can listen to the videos at least, and you will also be getting the videos after this class gets over in the group by itself. mRNA is the template for protein biosynthesis, that is to translate each genetic code on mRNA into amino acid in the protein. Each genetic code is a set of 3 continuous nucleotides. The first one is referred to as, it consists of 3 nucleotides, and those nucleotides are referred to as codons. So mRNA constitute 5% of the total RNA. mRNA varies significantly in lifespan. hnRNA is the precursor of mRNA that contains both introns as well as exons present within itself. That is why it is referred to as heteronuclear RNA. Now, looking at the structure of the mRNA, when you look at the structure of the mRNA, there are two different regions which are present. One is referred to as the 5' non-coding region. Another one is referred to as the 3' non-coding region. Now, look at the 5' non-coding region. This is referred to as the 5' cap. And the 3' non-coding region is also referred to as the 3' poly A tail. So this capping and tailing ensures the protection of the mRNA molecule. Both these, whether it is capping or whether it is tailing, it ensures that the mRNA can be effectively protected from the RNA's enzymes of the cell. Okay, so that its destruction or degradation do not take place. Now moving forward, transfer RNA. There is another different type of RNA which is present, which is commonly referred to as transfer RNA. And this transfer RNA has an ability to transfer amino acid residue. It can carry the amino acid residue for the process of protein biosynthesis to take place. Okay. tRNA is about 15% of the total RNA. So total RNA 15% is being constituted by the transfer RNA or the tRNA. tRNA is 65 to 100 nucleotide long. There are at least 20 different types of tRNA which are present in a cell. So there could be 20 different types of tRNA that will be carrying all the different types of amino acid. All the 61 different tRNA, all the 61 different types of codons will be present within these 20 different types of tRNA, and they will be carrying all the 20 standard amino acid residue to the site of protein biosynthesis. tRNA का फंक्शन क्या है? प्रोटीन बायोसिंथेसिस में आपके अमीनो एसिड को उस साइट पे लेके जाना जहां से प्रोटीन का बायोसिंथेसिस शुरू हो सके, so that effective protein biosynthesis can take place. Now, moving forward. Okay, moving forward, structure of tRNA. The overall structure of the tRNA which is present is cloverleaf reversed L-shaped structure. So see, when you look at the structure of the tRNA that you would be looking in the next slide. In the next slide, we have the structure of the tRNA. These are the two different structure of tRNA. One is referred to as the cloverleaf model. Another one is referred to as the inverted L model. Okay, inverted L model was given by Kim. And this is the cloverleaf model which you can find. Okay, in this cloverleaf model you can find that there are several different types of loops which are present. Which are the different types of loops which are present? DHU loop is present, T-C loop is present, DHU loop is present. Then there is an anticodon loop that contains the anticodon that will bind with specific codons, and there are amino acid attachment sites which are present. And these amino acid attachment sites which are present, okay. Krishna, do there is any problem? Krishna, do there is any problem? You can just write it to me. Anybody is having any trouble, you can at least write it to me. Okay. So there is an amino acid attachment site which is present to which the amino acids can get attached, and then there is an anticodon loop. A specific amino acid will get attached in accordance to the anticodon loop, and once the amino acid gets attached, then these amino acids will be transferred to the process, to the specific site on the ribosome where these amino acids will be joined, leading to the biosynthesis of a new polypeptide. Okay, so that transfer of amino acid is being taken by is being managed by tRNA, and there is an amino acid attachment arm or site where the amino acid will get attached in accordance to the anticodon loop. Now, how these two functions? Actually, in the case of an inverted L-shaped model, you can find this. This is the amino acid acceptance arm. This amino acid acceptance arm comes in near the anticodon loop. जब आप इसे घुमा देते हैं तो इस स्ट्रक्चर को जब आप देखते हैं तो एंटीकोडॉन लूप के पास में आ जाती हैं तब क्या हो जाता है, CAA जो सीक्वेंस है, जो आपका टर्मिनल अमीनो एसिड अटैचमेंट साइट है, ये किसके पास में जाता है, एंटीकोडॉन लूप के पास में जाता है, ताकि अमीनो एसिड्स इसके ऊपर इफेक्टिवली अटैच हो सके, और वो अमीनो एसिड कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री नेचर होते हैं टू द एंटीकोडॉन लूप, सो दैट ओनली the amino acid specified by the anticodon is able to bind to the tRNA molecule, and that is once the tRNA gets bind to the amino acid, then that condition is referred to as the charging of the tRNA molecule. This is how the tRNA molecule can get charged. Okay, the 3D structure is stabilized by hydrogen bonds of local interchange bases. Okay, so can you go back? I want to ask how snRNA transfer hnRNA. What are the steps involved? I would be moving forward because this topic is going to come in my next class tomorrow or day after tomorrow. You will get this particular topic. So there we are going to look at this particular thing. And if you need any extra help, I will just end after the class. I will solve that out. Okay. Now moving forward. Now, ribosomal RNA. When you look at the ribosomal RNA, which is also referred to as rRNA, so rRNA provides a proper place for protein biosynthesis. It is the ribosomal RNA that is involved in the process of protein biosynthesis. That how does protein biosynthesis takes place? Now, rRNA is the most abundant RNA which is present more than 80% of the cell. See, rRNA is so much of importance that even E. coli contain more than 500 different genes which codes for rRNA. Okay, so rRNA is the most important thing because rRNA will combine with proteins and will lead to the formation of the structure that is referred to as ribosomes. Now see this, rRNA assembles with numerous protein and lead to the formation of protein factories, and those protein factories are referred to as the ribosomes. So there the ribosomes will be produced after organization of rRNA with proteins. Now ribosomes associate with mRNA to form the place for protein synthesis. Now how does protein synthesis occur? That we will be looking at in molecular biology. Properties of nucleic acid. See, nucleic acids have certain properties. They are always acidic because they have a negative backbone. They are highly viscous because of concentration aggregation effect. They absorb UV radiation at 260 nanometer. They are quite stable. Okay, they are quite stable in nature because they have the ability to dissociate. Okay, into two single-stranded DNA molecules. Just a minute. Now, when we will be talking about the quantification or application of optical density, quantification of DNA or RNA. Now, this I have already told you that which molecule absorbs much more UV radiation, that I have told you that see this 1 angstrom or one angstrom OD is equivalent to 50 microgram per ml of DNA. That means the least amount of UV radiation are being absorbed by DNA. Single-stranded DNA or RNA, especially RNA, absorbs more radiation than DNA, and oligonucleotides are the ones that has the ability to absorb the maximum UV light at 260 nanometer. Okay, so maximum UV radiations are being absorbed by the oligonucleotide. That means when the DNA has been fragmented, then it will absorb the maximum UV radiation. The UV radiation absorption could also be tabulated for the pure DNA by calculating the ratio of absorption at 260 nanometer and 280 nanometer. अगर आप रेशियो कैलकुलेट कर लेते हैं 260 डिग्री पे नैनोमीटर पे और 280 नैनोमीटर पे, तो आप कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं कि डीएनए ने कितना एब्जॉर्ब किया। प्योर डीएनए कितने पे आ जाएगा 1.8 पे। अगर आप बात करें प्योर आरएनए की तो ये वैल्यू कितनी आ जाएगी 2। तो अब हम बात करेंगे उस फॉर्मूले की जिससे ये कैलकुलेशंस की जा रही है। So what is the formula that is being used? That is, the formula is for calculating the absorption maxima. आप लोग इंस्ट्रूमेंटेशन वाली बुक देखेंगे तो उसके अंदर आपको ये फॉर्मूला मिल जाएगा। फॉर्मूला इज in the case of a calculation of absorption maxima for the case of proteins, the formula that you will be getting is 1.66 just I'm writing down the formula so that there would be no confusion to anyone. Just a second. The absorption can be calculated by using the following formula. I'm just writing it. A 280 equals to absorption at 280 equals to 1.66 absorption at 260 minus 0.98 absorption at 280 nanometer. The absorption, absorption at 280 minus 0.098 absorption at 260. This is how you calculate this. This would be in subscript. Okay, this would be in subscript. This would also be in subscript. Can I do that? Subscript word? No, no. I cannot make it in subscript. That my program is not allowing that. Okay, just moving away from the formula. This is what we get for the pure DNA and for the pure RNA molecule. Now, moving forward from a transition from a double-stranded DNA to a single-stranded DNA, when we are going to heat the double-stranded DNA molecule, the double-stranded DNA molecule is going to melt. As the double-stranded DNA molecule melts, you can look forward. This is what has been studied to you. Now see, this is DNA melting that will take place. Now see, when a double-stranded DNA is being provided extreme pH or high temperature, then the double-stranded DNA molecule is going to melt and it is going to get converted to the single-stranded DNA molecule. This single-stranded DNA molecule will show hyperchromic effect. That means it will show much more UV light absorbance as compared to the double-stranded DNA molecule, because here the pi electronic cloud of each nitrogenous base is free from each other. As the pi electronic cloud of each nitrogenous base is free from each other, so these pi electronic cloud can interact with the UV radiation and absorb UV radiation maximally. So that is what we would be getting, that there would be an increase in the absorption maximum at 260 nanometer. 260 नैनोमीटर पे एब्जॉर्प्शन इंक्रीज हो जाता है. इसी फिनोमिना को हमने क्या बोला है? इसी फिनोमिना का नाम होता है बेटा हाइपरक्रोमेसिटी और हाइपरक्रोमिक शिफ्ट. ओके. Now DNA melting. DNA melting can be associated with melting curve. We have also seen what is TM, the temperature at which half of the DNA is being melted, or the increase in the absorption maxima is half of it is referred to as the melting temperature. Now see, there are two different types of DNA. One is the one which contains GC content 35%, another one contains the GC content 50%, third one has the GC content 66%. Okay, so this has the least GC content and is much more effectively able to melt. The second one has the same GC and AT content, and the third one has the GC content, high GC content. So this would be positively supercoiled DNA, high GC content. This would be negatively supercoiled DNA. This would be present in normal individuals like us. This would be present in the case of thermophiles. Okay, so thermophile require high stable DNA, so that is why they have very high GC content. GC content is also high in the case of prokaryotes. In the case of eukaryotes, the AT content is much higher as compared to the GC content. Okay. Moving forward, thermal stability. I've already told you what is thermal stability and how these breakage of bonds take place in which conditions, such as pH, such as ionic strength and temperature. This is how the DNA denaturation looks under the electron microscopy. Now, renaturation of the DNA. Once the two strands of the DNA have been completely separated from each other, they can also spontaneously re-anneal over itself. And re-annealing is also referred to as hybridization experiment, an association between two different polynucleotide chains whose basis sequence are complementary is referred to as hybridization. When there are two different polynucleotide sequences and these bases are complementary to each other, then this phenomena is commonly referred to as hybridization. And what is the percentage of hybridization? That is referred to as complementary degree. That how much of the DNA is able to hybridize with itself, then it is referred to as complementary degree. Now see, there are two different DNA molecules which are being shown here. One DNA molecule is being shown with blue color and another DNA molecule is being shown with red color. Both the DNA which are present here, they get mixed together with each other. As both the DNA get togetherly mixed with each other, then there would be a double-stranded DNA molecule that would be produced, and this is the duplex of the DNA molecule that has been produced. Okay, because they are complementary with regard to each other. Now, two single-stranded DNA, two single-stranded RNA, as well as one single-stranded RNA can also be hybridized together with each other. The hybridization also depends upon ionic strength, complementarity, temperature, as well as the base composition. So these are the factors that will determine that whether the complementation will take place or not. It is a common phenomenon in biology and has been used in conventional techniques, medicine and biology. So complementation techniques has been used in the case of PCR, in the case of because in the case of PCR we used to hybridize the DNA molecule. In the case of molecular markers such as TACMAN assays, and in the case of scorpionoid probes, etc., we are using this technique. Now there is a target DNA and there is a complementary probe. This probe will bind to the target DNA. Now mismatches hybridization. Sometimes there can be a mismatch, then also hybridization taking place. Then such type of hybridization is said to be the mismatch hybridization. Okay. So they find application in microarray, mRNA separation, gene diagnostics, diagnosis, PCR technique, gene structure and its expression. Now, nucleases, we will be talking about nucleases. Nucleases are different in them. So those will be working. This is how the bead on a string structure is being arranged. We'll be talking about it in our further class. We are stopping here only. We will be moving to Pathfinder, from where we will be continuing our lecture. In the case of Pathfinder, what is being given here, just moving to Pathfinder. Just give me a second. Okay, we have moved to Pathfinder. If you are not able to visualize the screen, okay, you would be able to visualize the new screen. Okay, now, okay. So see, we would be talking about the first RNA. The first RNA is referred to as the tRNA, which is a very well characterized RNA molecule. It has the ability to transfer the amino acids to the site of protein biosynthesis. Now you can look at its structure. I would be just minimizing the screen so that you can effectively visualize it out. Just a second. Okay. Now you can visualize it under a single screen. In this screen, what you are going to find is that there is a site for amino acid attachment. There is a site where the amino acid can be attached. There is an amino acid acceptor arm, and there are loops which are present, T-CIC loop and THU loop. Okay. There was a question which was being asked in ICMR 2018 entrance examination. The question was that which of the following DNA has abrupt nitrogenous bases present within its structure? Which of the following RNA has abrupt nitrogenous bases present in its structure? tRNA has abrupt nitrogenous bases. See the structure of tRNA. Can you tell me what is the structure of tRNA? It is double stranded, or it is single stranded, or it is triple stranded in nature? Actually, it is single stranded in nature, because this is a single strand of the RNA which has moved over itself and it appears double stranded. Okay, but actually this is a single stranded structure of the tRNA molecule, but this assumes a 2-degree conformation because because of its movement over itself. The tRNA can be categorized into two different types: the type 1 tRNA and the type 2 tRNA, depending upon to which amino acid tRNA synthetase do they bind. Whether they bind with the amino acid with the help of type 1 tRNA synthetase, then it would be type 1 tRNA, else it would be type 2 tRNA. We can also categorize the tRNA on the basis of their interaction with amino acid tRNA synthetase enzyme. Okay, now you can find there is an absolute conserved sequence that is referred to as CCA, which is present towards the 3' end. This absolute conserved sequence is essentially required for the process of attachment to take place. If you take an RNA molecule, you take a tRNA molecule and you chop off CCA sequence, you cut off CCA sequence, then there would be no transformation, no transfer of the amino acid molecules to the site of protein biosynthesis. This is the most important segment which is present. If this segment is being lost, then no protein biosynthesis. The tRNA will not be able to effectively initiate the process of protein biosynthesis. Okay. Now moving forward further, there are certain nitrogenous which are present: pseudouridine, inosine, ribothymidine, D5,6-thyrouridine. All these nitrogenous bases have been asked. Questions have been asked: which of the following nitrogenous bases is not found in the structure of tRNA? That means you will have to at least remember these nitrogenous bases. So there was a question which was being asked: which of the following nit which of the following modified nitrogenous bases bases are not found in the structure of tRNA. Okay, so which are not being found. That this type of question is being asked. So you must remember that pseudouridine, inosine, ribothymidine, 5,6-dihydro hydrouridine is being found. Generally, methylated acylated ribonucleotides are not being not present. Generally, methylated acetylated ribonucleotides are absent. I'm just enlarging it out. Are absent in the structure of tRNA. Okay, such type of question has been asked. Okay, you can note down the question. That's all. Now, the class 1 and class 2 tRNA molecules look at the variable region. On the basis of the size of the variable region, this variable arm, on the basis of the size of the variable arm, we can also classify the tRNA molecules here into the class 1 tRNA as well as class 2 tRNA molecules. I would be highlighting this particular point. See this particular point. tRNA are classified according to the length of the variable arm, which can be of 4 to 5 nucleotide and 10 to 24 nucleotide long. So there could be a 4 to 5 nucleotide long tRNA, then it is referred to as class 1 tRNA. 10 to 24 nucleotide long tRNA, it is called as class 2 tRNA. A new class 2 tRNA discovered most recently in many organisms serve as the adapter for selenocysteine. Now, selenocysteine is known as the 21st amino acid. The question has been asked in JNU Entrance Examination 2011, which is referred to as the 21st amino acid, selenocysteine. Now we have the 22nd amino acid also present. The 22nd amino acid is, can you guess which it is? It is pyrrolysine. Okay, so this is very important. So these are referred to as non-standard amino acid residues because they are not being produced, they are not being transferred. They do not have any specific tRNA for their transfer, but uses other tRNA. For example, selenocysteine uses the tRNA for transferring of itself. That tRNA that it uses is that of tRNA, that of cysteine. It uses the tRNA of cysteine for its own transfer to the site of protein biosynthesis. Two things are very important. The 21st standard and 22nd standard amino acids are selenocysteine and pyrrolysine. So these are the two different types of amino acids that are most important, the selenocysteine and the pyrrolysine. Okay, so it will be using that of serine. Sorry, thanks for the correction made, Krishna. Okay, thank you. Now moving forward, all tRNA also share the same L-shaped three-dimensional structure in each cell or organism. There are 20 different families of the tRNA molecule. For every amino acid molecule, there is a specific family of tRNA molecule. Now there are several different tRNAs that can bind to the same amino acid residues. Those are referred to as isoaccepting tRNA. I'm just highlighting this out. Now, isoaccepting tRNAs are the one that has the ability to be charged by the same amino acid residue. When the same amino acid residue is present, then such type of tRNA are said to be the isoaccepting tRNA molecule. This is isoaccepting. This is about isoaccepting tRNA molecule. They bind with the same amino acid residues. Okay. Now, the next topic we are going to talk about are the rRNA. The ribosomal RNA. The ribosomal RNA will constitute and will lead to the formation of the ribosomes. The ribosomes consist of the two different types, the eukaryotic 80S ribosomes and the prokaryotic 70S ribosomes. In the case of eukaryotes, when we are going to talk about the 80S ribosomes, the 80S ribosome can be fragmented into two different types. One is referred to as the 60S, another one is called as the 40S. Okay. Now, this the eukaryotic ribosome consists of four different ribosomal molecules: 18S, 5.8S, 28S, and 5S. Whereas in the case of prokaryote, there are 16s, 5s, 23s rRNA molecules which are present. Now see, in the case of eukaryotes, how I'm going to categorize it out here. In case of eukaryotes, ribosomes are ATS type. When they are ATS type, that means they could be fragmented into two different types. One is 60S plus 40S. Okay, now we can fragment the 60S type into the following type. The following subfragment 60S could be fragmented into the following type. One is called as 20. One is called as 28S, 5.8S, and 23S. Whereas the smaller subunit which is present, that is referred to as 40S. 40S is actually made up of 18S. Okay, this is how 40S is being made. Whereas in the case of prokaryotes, ribosomes, when we are going to talk, they are of 60S type. Okay, as they are of 60S type, so they could be fragmented into, they are of 70S type. Sorry, they are of 70S type. So they can be fragmented into two different types. One is referred to as 50S, another one is referred to as the 30S type. Oh, sorry for this error. This is and 5S. Okay. Now here what you are going to find is, in the case of prokaryotic ribosomes, the 50S is made up of 50S is made up of 23S, the 5S which is present. Okay, so this is how the organization of prokaryotic ribosomes takes place. And then there was the 30S. This 30S was made up of 16S. Right. This is how the ribosome is being organized in the case of prokaryotes. That has also been asked sometimes. Okay, three of the rRNA molecules are synthesized in the nucleolus and one is synthesized elsewhere. Now, majority of the rRNA, except the 5S rRNA, all are being biosynthesized within the nucleus. Okay, so they are being biosynthesized within a specialized organelle. That specialized organelle is referred to as nucleolus. I've described this very specialized organelle in my another video tutorial, which is applicable on our YouTube channel. You can visualize that video tutorial for nucleolus. Okay, so the organizing center of the cell, nucleolus, you can visualize that video tutorial there, but I would be teaching you also the same thing. So, but the 5S rRNA is not produced within the nucleus. It is the genes for the 5S rRNA are encoded within the chromosome number 1. So this question has also been asked. There is another question which has been asked. Among all ribosomal components in the form of rRNA molecules, the only rRNA which is not synthesized in the nucleolus, in the nucleo of the cell, is the 5S rRNA. Okay, because this 5S rRNA is synthesized on the chromosome number 1. Okay, as the genes encoding for 5S rRNA are encoded on chromosome number 1. RNA are encoded on chromosome number 1. So this is very important. It is an exceptional case in the case of rRNA molecule. Hope you will remember this out. Okay. Now, I would be sharing this modified PDF with you also, so that you can note all these modifications in your theory book. I do recommend that you should note all these modifications in the theory book of Pathfinder, so that when you will be revising them up, then it would become much more clearer to you. Okay, and keep all, you can also always and also send your queries to me on the WhatsApp number so that I can listen to your queries while you are reading all these things. Okay, in your during the daytime. Okay, not now. These RNA molecules, and now see, synthesis of the three nuclear RNA molecule is usually because they are made from one transcript. So, which is the one transcript that will biosynthesize all the three different types of RNA molecules? That transcript is referred to as 45S rRNA molecule. Okay, this one transcript that will biosynthesize the entire RNA molecule is the 45S rRNA. Okay, these are being made from a primary transcript. That primary transcript is being modified, it is being chopped off and will lead to the formation of the three different types of mature rRNA molecules except the 5S rRNA. Now, these rRNA molecule in the 5S rRNA combines and lead to the formation of ribosomal protein in the nucleus to form the 40S and pre-60S ribosomes. These subunits will get exported out of from the nucleus into the cytosol, and in the cytosol they will lead to the biosynthesis of proteins. The rRNA molecules also serve as in protein synthesis. First, the 28S RNA has a catalytic role. It is the one that is responsible for the peptidal transferase activity. Again, another question has been asked. This question was been asked in the process in molecular biology, that which subunit of the ribosome has the ability to biosynthesize protein, that it has peptidal transferase activity. Which subunit has the peptidal transferase activity? 28S rRNA has the peptidal transferase activity. I'm just writing down the question. Which subunit of the rRNA has a peptidal transferase activity in itself? In itself. So the answer was 28S rRNA, which has an peptidal transferase activity. Okay, there is a query. Similarly, okay, so similarly in if you take in this 28S RNA in the case of eukaryotes, and if you are going to take it in the case of prokaryote, then it would be 23S RNA. Okay, in the case of prokaryotes, this is what could be described. Okay, now the another type of RNA that we are going to talk about is referred to as snRNA. Now, snRNA will lead to the formation of proteins, and those proteins are referred to as snRNPs, a small nuclear ribonuclear protein, or also referred to as SNPs. And these are the ones that will be involved in the process of RNA splicing, a very important process. Now, snRNA refers to a small nuclear RNA, and they are the ones that are responsible for the biosynthesis of proteins, because they will induce the biosynthesis of proteins to take place. So how is this is being done? Because there is a small nuclear ribonuclear protein, and these are referred to as the SNPs, which are present. Okay. Next important point. They are involved in RNA processing. They are involved in mRNA processing, that is during the process of splicing. Now there is another RNA that is referred to as snRNA. Very important point. If you would have the Pathfinder part second, I can show it to you very clearly. This snRNA has methylase activity. This will methylate the 45S tRNA. Now listen this very carefully. Go to Pathfinder second. In the chapter of molecular biology, you will find tRNA processing. In the tRNA processing, you will find this RNA that is referred to as snRNA, a small nucleolar RNA. It is the one that is involved in the process of methylation. It is the one that will methylate the 45S tRNA and will cause the separation of 28S tRNA 28S subunit and the other different subunit of the RNA molecule from the 45S rRNA. The 45S rRNA is being protected from degradation by snRNA only. The snRNA guides the snRNP complex to the modification site of the target RNA via sequences present in the snRNA. That hybridize these sequences hybridize to the target site. The protein then catalyzes the modification of the rRNA. So these are the one that is responsible for the modification of RNA genes. With this, I've finished the SNO-RNA. We would be starting from the gRNA, that is referred to as guide RNA, tomorrow in tomorrow's class. So hope you enjoyed this lecture. If you have any queries, you can always WhatsApp it to me. You can write it to Krishna sir. You can comment on the comment box. We'll be continuing our lecture at the same time from here tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed this particular lecture. Okay, you can share your comments in the WhatsApp messages also to me so that I can listen to them. Again, I would be sharing the books and all the stuff to you in the WhatsApp message, WhatsApp group. You will also get the MCQ book in that. If you need to purchase these books, you can always call me up because we are the wholesale dealers of these books all over India. We are dealing with that. So you can get all those things very effectively. Okay. Hope you enjoyed the lecture. I will continue from here and good night. Okay. We'll meet you soon tomorrow. Bye.